Hi, I'm Mike, founder of GoodBed. Today we're going to take you through the entire iComfort collection of memory foam mattresses. Now, this collection is completely new, but in many ways it's a return to what has made iComfort such a popular brand in the past. So we're excited to show it to you. Stick around. All right, so if you're not already familiar with iComfort, this is a brand that started a little over 12 years ago, and it achieved immediate and very significant popularity essentially by offering a memory foam over foam construction at a more affordable and accessible price point than was previously available. And in recent years, they've had the iComfort Hybrid, but that's no longer going to be part of the line going forward. And essentially what they're doing is returning to their roots of what they have been so successful with in the past. And this iComfort collection that we're going to show you in this video is really entirely back to that memory foam over foam construction. So in total, you're going to have 7 models in this brand new revamped iComfort memory foam collection. And let's dive into the features that all 7 of these are going to have in common. And let's start with the support unit. Since I already referenced it, it's a foam core. There's not going to be any hybrid construction or springs or pocket springs or anything like that in the iComfort line. And basically, so what you're going to have is the bottom 7 inches of every one of these mattresses is going to be a foam core. Now, one thing that's interesting about the foam core that iComfort or that Serta is using in this iComfort collection that we haven't really seen before is they are varying up the feels of the different mattresses in part through what type of core they use, or I should say, how firm of a core they use. And we've seen this done with springs many times, including by Serta, but we've never seen it done with the foam core type of construction. Typically those mattresses, when they offer a firm, soft type of choice, it's going to be controlled by the foams on top that will vary in their softness. But in the case of this iComfort line, they're also varying up the firmness of that underlying support unit to offer more conformance or more cushioning depth or softness on certain models than others. So typically what they do is if it's a soft model or if it's labeled Plush in the name, then it probably uses that softer foam core, whereas if it's a medium or a firm, it probably uses the firm core. And the other interesting thing that they're doing at this with this core is that when they do use a plush foam core, they're also putting a foam perimeter around it, much the same way as you would do with coils to give it a stronger edge. So in other words, if they're using a firm block of support foam, then that foam is firm enough all the way to the edge that you don't need to enhance its edge. However, if they're using a softer foam in order to give you a little bit more conformance or give you that softer, plusher feel, then they don't want to sacrifice the edge. So what they're still doing is putting a 4-inch block perimeter around it of really firm foam, because that's not where you need the plushness or the conformance. So that's going to give you a much stronger edge than you would normally get on a plush, particularly a plush memory foam over foam mattress. And we certainly saw this in our assessments of the edge support that we'll talk about later in the video. Now, the next interesting thing that they did that's common across all of these iComfort memory foam models is they've added zoning to these mattresses. And this is consistent with a new brand positioning that Serta is establishing across all of its products, which is providing zone support to enhance spinal alignment and pressure relief. And the way they've done it in this case is basically with a layer of foam that's directly above the foam core in each case. This is a 1.5-inch layer of foam, and they've added zoning to this layer essentially by convoluting portions of it. Well, you might not know what convoluting is. Convoluted foam is essentially what you might think of as egg crate foam, what you might be familiar with seeing on the walls of a sound studio, for example. It's got that kind of wave pattern kind of carved out of it. Well, what they've done with this 1.5-inch layer of foam is they've essentially created 3 convoluted sections in this foam. So they got a convoluted section at the head, convoluted section at the foot, and a narrow one right down the middle. And so that's essentially created 5 zones. The firmest 2 zones being the ones that would be underneath your lumbar, depending on which way you have the mattress rotated. So why do they do it this way? Well, essentially, as I mentioned, the goal is to enhance spinal alignment and pressure relief. So for a lot of us, the pointiest parts of our bodies are going to be our shoulders and our hips, particularly when we're sleeping on our sides. And so your mattress needs to accommodate those pointy parts in order to allow the rest of your spine to be in proper neutral alignment. So the idea is give a little bit more give by adding that convolution, which effectively makes the foam a little softer in that area underneath where those pointy parts would be, your hips as well as your shoulders. And that will enhance spinal alignment, but it will also allow the mattress to conform a little more closely to those curves, which will also help with pressure relief. So that feature, which they call 5-zone response foam, is present on all 7 of these iComfort memory foam models, and it's always going to be that layer directly above the 7-inch foam core. So essentially the bottom 8.5 inches are going to be pretty consistent, not the same. As we talked about, the Plush and the Firm can differ a little bit, but they're going to be, those 8.5 inches are going to be pretty consistent across all 7 of these models. So now above that, the other way they're going to vary up the types of feels is the amount and types of memory foam that they're using. Now, all of these models are going to use this new memory foam that Serta is introducing, which they call Perfect Conform memory foam. And this is a memory foam that has some graphite infused to it, which graphite's a conductor, so it adds a little bit of a cooling property to this memory foam. And you're typically going to find this memory foam up near the top of these mattresses. In the first 5 models in this collection, you're going to have 1 inch of this Perfect Conform memory foam, and in the top 2 models in this collection, you're going to have 2 inches of it. You can see here, it's not the slowest responding memory foam. It's kind of medium to quick, but it is certainly still going to give you some of that slow responding memory feel and that slow melting sensation, as well as, most importantly, that pressure relieving quality that memory foam is really made for. And in terms of other materials, I also have here another example of a different type of memory foam used in this line. This is one that they call Evercool Fused Gel Memory Foam. And you can see here, this was a memory foam that has kind of similar recovery time to the Perfect Conform, and overall is going to probably have similar pressure relieving benefits to what you have with this Perfect Conform. It's going to be typically found a little bit lower down in the mattress, and this one's not going to be used in all the mattresses. It's used in 4 of the kind of first 5 in the collection, and then actually the top 2 mattresses in the collection, they replaced this one with kind of a higher density version of this one. But essentially they're just kind of using different types of memory foams in different amounts to create some of the different feels that you have in this line. And just to continue on with the shared features that are common across all the models in this line, one of the other kind of hallmarks that the iComfort brand was known for from the beginning is cooling and offering cooling solutions for that memory foam over foam construction, which is a construction type that can sleep a little bit warmer than other types of mattresses. And so in the case of this current iComfort line, they've got that right from the entry level here all the way up through the line. They've got something that they call Cool Feel fabric. Okay, so what this basically is in this cover fabric, you have polyethylene fiber, which this polyethylene fiber is essentially a higher density yarn. And the reason that a higher density yarn helps with cooling is that a higher density material has an inherent coolness to the touch. And you can think of this, a good analogy I like to use is, think about how if you were to lie down on a marble countertop, for example, relative to a wood countertop. I mean, that would feel a lot cooler to the touch even if both were room temperature. And that's because marble is a much higher density material, and that makes it a better thermal conductor than a lower density material like wood. So this is similar in terms of this polyethylene fiber and how the role it plays in the cover fabric. So that cooling feature is basically designed to help you stay cool, just gives it initial coolness to the touch that I definitely can feel, and help you stay cool for those first 15-20 minutes or whatever while you are trying to fall asleep. And to close the loop on the features that are common across all these iComfort memory foam mattresses, I'll stick with the cover here. The cover is going to be a stretch cover. That means that there's no quilting anywhere in these iComfort memory foam mattresses. These are the stretch cover. The purpose of it is essentially to minimize the amount of material that is between you and those top layers of conforming pressure relieving foams. And the stretch aspect of the cover really maximizes benefit of that conformance. You're not going to be limited in the mattress's ability to conform to your curves by the cover, because it itself can stretch to allow that memory foam to do its job most effectively. So you're going to have the stretch cover with the tape edge, and then you're going to have, in fact, the same side panel with 4 handles on all of the mattresses in this collection. So in terms of the specific options within this iComfort memory foam collection, as I mentioned, there's going to be a total of 7 mattresses, and the first 5 of them kind of are a sub-collection within that. These are the ones that have 1 inch of that perfect conform graphite-infused memory foam up near the top of the mattress. And you can tell that they go together because the cover fabrics kind of match one another, whereas when you step up to the top 2 mattresses in the line, the cover fabrics bring in some darker blues, so they're a little bit distinct visually. But in terms of the choices here, it's mostly going to come down to your choices of feels and feel characteristics that we look at include everything from softness to the amount of cushioning depth, which is how much it conforms or how much you sink into it, to how much memory feel there is, and also how much bounce, which, spoiler alert, not a whole lot of bounce anywhere in this collection, of course. But let's talk about the specific models here. It starts out with an 11.5 inch model called the Elana Firm, and then you move a small step up to 2 models called the Aveda Medium and the Aveda Plush, and then you have another small step up to 2 options called the Iona Medium and the Iona Plush. So I'm on the Iona Medium right now. Now, before I get into our assessments of the feels of these individual models, I first need to give you just a little bit of context in how we do our assessments, in that we draw a distinction between how much a mattress can conform to you and how deeply you sink into it, which is what kind of most manufacturers talk about when they're describing the softness of a mattress, versus what we think of as the softness and what a lot of consumers think of as the softness, which is kind of how much initial plushness is there on the mattress. That's what we call softness, and what kind of that other characteristic of how much it ultimately conforms to you is what we call cushioning depth. So with that context being provided, we would characterize all 5 of these mattresses as a firm on our softness spectrum. So that sounds like, wow, they're all the same. Well, it's because memory foam, by virtue of it being a delayed response kind of a material, it has an initial firmness. Like it's firm until the delay happens, at which point it eventually softens, depending on how much delay there is. That can take anywhere from a couple seconds to 10 or seconds or a minute. But in other words, memory foam does have an initial firmness, which means that in our softness assessments, it will tend to come out firmer, and it will feel firmer when you first lie down on it relative to a similarly plush or similarly conforming mattress that doesn't use memory foam. So naturally, our assessments of cushioning depth are going to align much more closely with the model names that Serta provides. We've got a 1 through 9 sort of spectrum of cushioning depth, with 5 being obviously the middle, 1 being much more that floating above your mattress, sleeping on your mattress sensation, and 9 being deeper, the deepest cushioning, sleeping in your mattress, hugged or cradled. So the Elana Firm at the beginning entry level of the line is going to be a 3 out of 9 on our spectrum. You're going to get much more of that sleeping on your mattress sensation from that, which aligns with its name being the Elana Firm. Then the Aveda, the first Aveda, we would classify as just 1 step up in terms of 1 more step of cushioning depth. We put it as a 4 out of 9. And then the Aveda Plush and the Iona Medium, we would classify as a 5. So basically these 2 mattresses, the Aveda Plush and the Iona Medium that I'm on right now, are going to be kind of that happy medium between sleeping on your mattress and sleeping in your mattress, kind of right there in the middle. And then lastly, the Iona Plush is going to be a 6. So it's definitely going to be more towards like slightly deeper cushioning, more conformance, a little bit more hugged or cradled type of sensation when you get to that mattress. In terms of memory feel, that's also going to increase as you kind of move through the line in the same order that I just described it. So the Elana Firm is going to have just a little below average memory feel. And by the way, our memory feel spectrum acknowledges the fact that memory foam is so pervasive in mattresses today that the average mattress today has some amount of memory foam and therefore has some amount of memory feel. So the Elana has its quicker responding memory foam and there's less of it, and on balance that means it has just a little less than average amount of memory feel. Whereas the next two, the Aveda Medium and Plush, both have kind of a medium amount of memory feel. And then when you get up to the Iona models, you get above average amounts of memory feel. You're getting more memory foam. It's a little bit of that slower responding memory foam. And so you get, I'd say, slightly above average amount of memory feel on this one, and certainly above average amount of memory feel on the Iona Plush. And as I referenced earlier, you're really not going to get any bounce to speak of on any of these mattresses because there's no springs in them. And on top of that, memory foam is a pretty shock absorbing material in the first place. So when you come down on these mattresses, you're not going to get any real bounce. In terms of the edge support that I also alluded to earlier, so the edge support here across the board is quite good, particularly for mattresses of this construction type. Certainly we would say that the firm model, the Elana, as well as the two mediums, the Aveda Medium and the Iona Medium, those are the best in terms of their edge support. We would classify those as very good in their edge support. And that, by the way, is certainly an above average classification for its peer set of this type of construction. Well above average, I should say. It's probably above average across all mattresses, and this type of mattress tends to do well below average. But then where I guess it's even more noteworthy is the two Plush models, the Aveda Plush and the Iona Plush, are both good edge support. And to have a Plush memory foam over foam mattress get a score of good on our edge support test is very, very rare. So even though they're not quite as good as the medium and the firms, they're still, I think, relative to their peer set, even more impressive. All right, so now we've moved up to the top of the line within this iComfort collection of memory foam mattresses. And here again, you have a choice of a medium and a Plush at the same price. You can see the difference visually in terms of the cover being a little bit darker blues. And essentially the main step up here in terms of the value that you're getting is an additional inch of that graphite infused memory foam that we showed you earlier, that what they call perfect conform. So you now have a 2-inch layer in both of these mattresses, and that gives the profile height also 1 additional inch in total, bringing it to 14 inches for both of these. In terms of their feels, we would again classify them as firmer on our softness scale, but certainly like both very deep in terms of their cushioning. So we have the, I'm on the Plush right now, but the medium we classify as a medium firm in terms of its pure softness, whereas the Plush we'd classify as a medium. Now on a cushioning depth standpoint, these are very conforming mattresses. You're gonna get much more of that hugged or cradled sensation on both of these. We would say that on that scale, the medium is a 7, and this one would be an 8. So out of 9. So that's, they're both well to that sort of more sleeping in your mattress side of that spectrum. And likewise, in terms of the memory feel, you're going to get the maximum amount of that slow melting memory feel and those pressure relieving benefits on these two models relative to the rest of the collection. These would be an 8 out of 9 on that scale for memory feel, both of these. And once again, of course, no bounce to speak of on either of these two mattresses. And the last thing I'd add is in terms of edge support, these two probably have the weakest edge support within this 7 model collection, but stepping back, when we talk about how much additional memory feel, additional conformance, and cushioning depth you have on these two models, to consider that these two mattresses both have edge support that is still pretty good, I'd say is still quite impressive. All right, so there you have it. That's our full rundown of this entire brand new collection of memory foam mattresses from iComfort. Now, we covered a lot of ground here, and we did give you a lot of data on our assessments, but we didn't nearly have time to cover all the things that we test in these mattresses, everything from spinal alignment to pressure relief to many other features of these mattresses that are going to be important for a lot of sleepers. So if you are serious about looking at one of these mattresses, I'd highly recommend going to our website, goodbed.com, and looking up that mattress, where you can find our full assessments of that model. And you can even compare these models using our side-by-side comparison tool against one another or against any other mattresses that you may be considering, to just see exactly how they compare on all the different metrics that are going to be important for you. I'd highly recommend taking advantage of that. In the meantime, I thank you for watching, and I really hope you sleep well.